Though the Carolina Panthers have not given us anything positive to talk about in terms of football, we've gotten a lot to talk about in terms of how the team is being run. And today, we'll have to get more into the debacle that is happening on Main Street. So the biggest news to come out of the Panthers organization this week is that Frank Reich is deciding to take over the play calling from Thomas Brown. And this is one of those things where I know I'm not necessarily up in arms because the offense looked bad either way. But I know a lot of people are very much upset because of the situation you've put Thomas Brown in. Thomas Brown being a young guy in the NFL coaching space, getting an opportunity to be an OC, but was a relative unknown to many people when the decision to bring him on was made. This was a huge opportunity for him. This is a huge opportunity for him to get his feet wet as a play caller, see if he could, see if he could kick it, and see if he can stick in this league doing such a job. And it hasn't gone well. It did not go well, but honestly, it wasn't going well for Frank Reich either. And I think I know some people are feeling that maybe Thomas Brown is being scapegoated. I don't believe that's the case. I simply believe that Frank Reich is a guy that understands that he's on the hot seat right now. I thought that the decision initially to make Thomas Brown the play caller wasn't one that came, I think, how anybody wanted it to. Nobody wanted this decision to come this way. I thought that if Frank could have had it his way, he could have called the game for the entirety of the season. Work Thomas Brown into that role maybe next season or later on into the year. But to me, the plan for Thomas Brown to be the play caller could have never been the plan for this season if we thought what we initially thought is that this team could potentially fight for a playoff spot. No playoff team that I really know of is changing play callers in the middle of the season if things are going well. So the idea that Thomas Brown was ever scheduled to take the play calling duties over this year, I won't say they were a lie. That just could not have been the plan for this year. Now moving forward, what does this mean for Thomas Brown? I think it's put him in a very precarious position. Knowing how hard black coaches have it in this league in terms of getting opportunities, getting the coordinator positions, also getting elevated to head coaching positions, having a young guy be at the OC position. Look, there's not many black OCs, then there's not many black play callers. The only one that I can think of off the top of my head has been Eric Bieniemy and I think Byron Leftwich a couple years ago, right? And we see where Byron Leftwich's career went once they had one struggling season. Right now, Eric Bieniemy has seemed to hit the jackpot in Washington, and he's been able to be productive. Now, Thomas Brown, being much younger than those other two guys in terms of NFL experience and play calling, this is his first grand opportunity with a franchise that is, ushering in a new quarterback and a team that right now is struggling. They struggled before he became the play caller. They're going to probably struggle after. Nothing much is truly going to change. The issue that I had with Thomas Brown becoming the play caller was that it put him into a position that I don't think he was ready for. And we talked about that previously. I don't think he was ready for this position, and it's also affected the trajectory of where his career can go. And look, is it anyone's fault? If it's anyone's fault, it starts from the head. It starts from the very top, from David and Nicole Tepper. Those two being this much involved in the football operations of this thing have meant nothing but gloom and doom for our franchise. There is nothing positive that has come from David Tepper and Nicole Tepper being involved with football decisions. Absolutely nothing. And it's going to continue to be this way until they learn they need to take the reins off, step back, allow the football people to do their job, and let the franchise be run that way. Because right now, man, it's nothing about this is good. I think coming into this thing, we had two people in two very different spaces of their careers. When you have Scott Fitterer hiring a coach and you bring in Frank Reich, who initially, from reports, this is all speculation, nothing has been confirmed to us, but this is just purely what we've been told. He wanted a veteran quarterback to start for this team. He wanted Derek Carr, to be more specific. That was who he wanted to go into this year with. That's the idea he had for the team. We go in the very opposite direction. Okay, if Derek Carr is the quarterback that he wanted, and we say no to that, okay, cool, fine. I understand Scott Fitterer's point of view of this being that I haven't gotten the quarterback position right thus far. I've traded for Sam Darnold. I've traded for Baker Mayfield. We've also had, Teddy. We also had to get rid of Teddy Bridgewater. We need to figure out the quarterback position, a guy that can be the future of the franchise, and not a guy that's simply going to be a stopgap to leave us to look for that position again in the next 3 to 4 seasons. Understandably, that's an understandable standpoint from Scott Fitterer. Now, for Frank Reich, wanting Derek Carr, look, out of the quarterbacks that came out this year, if Derek Carr was your preferred quarterback, tell me of the top guys, who resembles Derek Carr the most? And not that they're really that similar in style of play, but it wouldn't be Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson's more of an athlete. He's more of a guy. He's a guy that right now is going to have to, that we all thought was going to have to learn how to come into this game and be a NFL level passer, but we knew his rushing ability would help alleviate that along the way. But then you look at Bryce Young, you start saying like, well, that's not the prototypical quarterback that Frank Reich would play with, even though he does a lot of things that are prototypical as far as processing and ball placement and time, and timing and all of that. But the only guy that really fit that mold would be CJ Stroud, which for the majority of the NFL draft process, we thought, or a lot of people thought, CJ Stroud could be the number one pick. And I think that up until maybe like the week before, maybe a week or 2 weeks before, that was pretty much the notion. I mean, that's kind of how we felt. That's kind of what the word around town had been to that point. No, I mean, though the pendulum swung each way. Clearly, we all knew that CJ Stroud and Bryce Young were the two guys that everybody were vying for. But it felt that CJ Stroud was always the quarterback that Frank Reich would prefer to work with. And considering who he wanted as a free agent coming in, it kind of all felt a little off with Bryce Young being the guy that they picked. And you simply have two guys that are on two different timelines. Scott Fitterer is on the hot seat because he has not put together a winning team or a successful group of any sort in his time here in Carolina. Frank Reich, being a fresh year head coach, realistically shouldn't be put on the hot seat. Realistically. But considering how bad the situation has been, there's nothing positive that anybody can take away from what's happened this year, and nothing that anybody wants to see in the following years. So kind of leaves us where we're at right now with this franchise. But I ain't gonna lie to y'all boys, I have nothing analytical to say about this game coming up against the Dallas Cowboys. I'm gonna get up on out of here. You've been listening to Locker Room Talk. This is the P1N Network, and I'm out.